In this video, we will be focusing on how the VMware Security Gateway Firewall can help you in your journey to secure your data center. I will show you the current topology as it stands, and then explain how Gateway Firewall can be used to help secure your workloads. Remember, Gateway Firewall and Distributed Firewall are two powerful tools that can be used together and are not mutually exclusive. Where you configure rules is completely up to your business requirements and logical network topology. My goal is to show you ways you can use them to meet your workload security needs. The company has grown, and now we have multiple Tier 0s and Tier 1 routers. We have expanded to now include a new Tier 0 router called Provider Router that has an engineering and finance Tier 1 router attached to it. The engineering and finance routers each have a segment attached to it as well. The finance team also has a VM workload sitting on a VLAN-backed segment, VLAN 150, that is attached to the finance Tier 1 using a service interface. This service interface serves as the gateway for VLAN 150. This VLAN-backed segment can host VMs and bare metal workloads on the enterprise network. We will be creating Gateway Firewall policy to help protect this VLAN-backed segment. We could also implement role-based access for separation of duties between global IT and lines of business. We still have the original Tier 0 with production, user acceptance testing, quality assurance, development, and common services Tier 1s for each environment. Each Tier 1 router has a segment attached to it as well for workloads to connect to the network. When traffic from the engineering and finance networks needs to reach common services, it will exit out the provider router, traverse the enterprise network, and enter inbound towards the Tier 0 router. For clarity, here are all of the overlay networks and the VLAN 150 back segment. Make note that the VLAN back segment, VLAN 150, is connected to the finance Tier 1 router. Now let's start taking a look at the Gateway Firewall policy for the finance router. We start off with some simple rules to restrict access to the web and database servers. The engineering database server needs access to the finance database server, so we create a rule that allows this. Also, we want our trusted jump boxes to be able to manage the server, so we include a rule to allow this as well. Finally, we deny all other traffic to the finance database server. For the web server, we allow RFC 1918 to reach the web server on port 80 and 443. And then finally, we create a management rule and then deny the rest. The engineering team has a very similar policy, so we will only show it briefly and then move on to common services. We want to restrict access to common services workloads that are provided by the IT department. Since the provider router is upstream to both finance and engineering, the policy we create will apply to both departments. We restrict things like Linux satellite services, Windows Active Directory, DNS, and more to only those servers in the groups we have created for those common service workloads. Ideally, these workloads will be tagged and dynamically added to the groups instead of being static IP members. Finally, at the end, we drop traffic to unknown destinations for DNS, syslog, NFS, and more. This secures our common services traffic to only trusted sources for the engineering and finance departments. Now we need to implement Gateway Firewall policy for our VLAN back segment. First, we created some policy to allow SSH from our trusted jump box. We also created a policy to only allow the engineering department to reach the VLAN 150 web server along with a few other rules. Let's prove our firewall policy is working as expected. Here we have our web server on VLAN 150 along with a server on the engineering and finance segments respectively. Now, if the rule works, engineering will be able to reach the web server while the finance server will time out. And as you can see, the finance server does indeed time out. Now let's change the rule to allow finance to reach the server, but deny engineering by removing it as an allowed source. We retry the connection from each server and see that the finance server can now reach the web server while the engineering server times out. This proves our rule set is working as expected on the Gateway Firewall. The Gateway Firewall provides services like URL filtering and TLS inspection. A TLS inspection policy can be configured as bypass, internal for services you host, and external for public internet traffic. Here we see a URL filtering policy that will prevent users from reaching websites like social media, gambling, and others. From this screen, we can see that we have blocked the finance department from reaching social media websites. The Gateway Firewall is a powerful tool in the VMware security framework. Where you place rules is completely up to your business requirements and logical network topology. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching and see you next time.